Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I think that in Ukraine there are thousands of mercenaries actually. They call them volunteers nowadays, and I think the volunteers nowadays are, I show as a volunteer in the whatever international league of volunteering for love, peace and happiness, and I sign all the papers or the documents. But then in reality my account and my contract was made, let's say, in Poland. And before I was dispatched, let's put it this way, or deployed in the field in Ukraine, I signed a little contract in Poland where, okay, this is where the real money goes in and all the perks. And then when I go to Ukraine or still in Poland, I do complete another agreement with the Ukrainian army where they, pay me nothing, and I put a badge here with Ukrainian flag and all that, and here I am, a volunteer. So I might have two contracts. I mean, this is would be retarded if that would not be the case. At least if I were those guys, I could, bypass all this, volunteer or mercenary. Volunteer, swear God, with 50 contracts. And you know only about one. But hey, that's a Romanian mind, I guess. So, in fact, the Ukrainians claim that they blew up some mercenaries, which they call those members of Wagner group, the private military contracting company. And this article comes from the New Voice of Ukraine from January 2nd, 2022. Ukrainian army reportedly attacks Wagner mercenary base in occupied Donbas. The Ukrainian military attacked the base of the Russian PMC Wagner in the temporarily occupied town of Pervomaisk, Luhansk Oblast, according to social media reports on January 1st. The Russian military occupied the building of the local hospital. Do you know where these guys are going now? In connection with the Kremlin's propagandist announced a strike on an allegedly civilian object, but this statement is contradicted by the arrival of the leader of the gang, Yevgeny Prigozhin, a video of which was published on social media earlier. Pervomaisk is located a few dozen kilometers from Bakhmut, Donetsk Oblast, which Russian invasion forces have successfully stormed for more than 6 months. The core of the enemy grouping on the axis consists of convicts recruited by Wagner PMC. The result of the strike on the building housing the occupying troops, which was probably conducted using the HIMARS rocket system, are not yet known. So how did they prove that those guys were mercenaries from Wagner Group? Because Prigozhin showed up at the hospital? Is that what it is? Because they show a video of, I see here a photo, a Prigozhin, probably from a little, I don't know, he's from behind, I can't show it, it's because it's as it is. But you see, when the Ukrainians hit a hotel, as they did before in the occupied territory, when the Ukrainians are blowing up a hospital, when the Ukrainians hit a, I think they call it a vacation resort, the Ukrainians claim that each and every time there were either Russian officers over there, mercenaries and all that. But when the Russians, we're told every day, every 5 minutes, that destroy civilian targets, there's never, almost never, any military target over there to be hit, which runs against the Amnesty International's report, if you remember that one. About, I don't know, like 6 months ago, they made a report. They went investigated in Ukraine, and they determined that, so the outcome was that Ukrainians violate the civilian protection something like that, and that was because the Ukrainians, according to the report, placed their military personnel next to civilian targets. So when the Russians tried to hit them, they hit the other ones. And the Ukrainians placed personnel and ammunition in schools and, surprise, surprise, hospitals. The Ukrainians were very upset about the findings, and Amnesty International provided, I think it was Amnesty International, provided evidence and names and statistics, saying from 22 incidents of bombardment of whatever civilian targets, 16 were actually Ukrainian military located in those, housed and so on. The Ukrainians immediately, instead of saying, well, that's not true because let me provide you with a counter-argument or evidence, they said, no, you are just Putin's this and Putin's that, you're bad dudes, so shut up. So that's the way it works. You don't have argument, you try to destroy someone's character. Anyway, some like us remember that, and I'm pretty sure the Russians also remember that. Here, I have no way to know if indeed these guys, the Ukrainians, hit this hospital and there was just, Wagner groups over there, or a hospital. The hospital, a functioning hospital, or maybe both. But as you can tell, the Ukrainians never made any mistakes, especially when war crimes were committed, like the one on camera. Remember the one with, I think it was 12 Russian people who surrendered, fighters who surrendered, and they were placed face down in, it was a house in the yard and so on. And I think the last one who showed up and opened fire or something. So they killed that guy, the Ukrainians, which obviously in self-defense. And then what they did, they executed each and every Russian face down who surrendered with his hands here, down, bam, 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 in the head. And that was videotaped, I think, photographs by drones and all that, and by the Ukrainians' cameras when that guy opened fire and so on. Now that was a war crime, however you want to take it. Not against that guy who came and shot, but those down there. Now, here it is. Do you know how the Ukrainians justify that? They didn't justify it because they couldn't justify to say, well, the guy attacked us. Okay, he got what he, had coming because he started shooting. What about the other ones that did not react? Why did you kill those? And this was the Ukrainian argument. Well, the Russians must learn how to properly surrender. Did you hear that? I know how, how do you call it, individual punishment is distributed. I know how collective punishment is distributed. And collective punishment is like this. Let's say your father makes a mistake, he gets, in prison, but so do you. They take you as well because you're his son or his daughter, or his wife, your mom, and all your family. Or let's say they punished, someone in your group. You're not responsible, but they punish you as well. And I'm not talking about by association, because here these guys were face down. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is they will never recognize or agree that they made mistakes. And if they made a mistake, it was because the other side made them do that. When the Russians use the same argument, they immediately use logic, obviously. So that tells you that these guys are just do it consciously, not because they are tards. And we know why, because it's a war. Now, I don't know. Good. As I said, a private military company, Wagner, hires all kind of people, and it's a private company. It is like Blackwater was in Iraq, remember? That's clear, contractors. And they were just providing security and here and there. No, it's all right. These guys do the same thing. By all means, who's guilty of war crimes should be brought forth and indicted, investigated, indicted if necessary, if you find evidence compelling and beyond any reasonable doubt, and convict a person. Charge, convict, punish. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.